Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It started with nothing more than a glance, the kind that lingers just a heartbeat too long. I had been folding laundry in our room, the evening light spilling through the curtains in soft, golden ribbons, when I felt his eyes on me. At first, I didn't look up. But the weight of his gaze was impossible to ignore, like a gentle tug that pulled my attention away from everything else. When I finally met his eyes, he didn't look away. There was something different in that look, a quiet intensity that made the air between us feel heavier, warmer. He smiled, not the casual kind I'd seen 1,000 times before, but slower, deeper, the kind that felt like a question and an answer all at once. I turned back to my task, pretending to focus on the neat little stacks of clothes. But my heartbeat had already quickened, my breath coming just a touch shorter. I could feel him moving closer behind me, not touching, not saying a word, yet every inch he closed between us sent a spark racing through my skin. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the faint sound of the city outside. But inside, something electric was building. I brushed a stray strand of hair behind my ear, aware, painfully aware, that his footsteps had stopped right behind me. When I finally turned, he was closer than I expected. Close enough for me to catch the faint scent of his cologne, close enough that the warmth of his breath brushed against my cheek. My back met the cool wood of the wardrobe before I even realized I'd stepped back. His hand reached up, not rushing, just tracing the air between us before resting gently against the fabric of my shirt. "Too many buttons," he murmured with a crooked smile. And before I could reply, I felt the slow tug of one coming undone, then another. Each movement was unhurried, deliberate, like he wanted me to feel every second of the moment we were falling into. The space between us vanished. My shirt loosened under his fingertips, and though he hadn't said a word more, my body betrayed me, the shallow rise and fall of my chest, the breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, the way my hands hovered near his, uncertain whether to stop him or pull him closer. And just like that, in the hush of our room, with nothing but his eyes on mine and his fingers tracing a slow path down my buttons, everything felt different. Something was about to happen, something neither of us could, or wanted to, stop. We hadn't always been like this. Life, bills, work, routines, had a way of dimming the sparks we once took for granted. For months, we'd passed each other like two trains on different tracks, sharing meals and conversations but rarely stopping long enough to just be with each other. And yet, lately, something had shifted, quiet moments lingering longer, small gestures carrying deeper meaning. It was happening now, right here. "Remember when you used to follow me around just to steal a kiss?" I teased softly, trying to break the tension curling thick in the air. His lips curved. "I still do. You've just gotten better at running away." I laughed, but the sound caught in my throat when his hand brushed mine, not by accident, not quite on purpose either. Just a fleeting touch that sent a spark racing up my arm. My fingers twitched, wanting to hold his, but I tucked them against my side, pretending I didn't notice the way my body betrayed me. We stood there for a moment, inches apart, the wardrobe at my back and him in front of me. The world beyond that tiny space didn't exist anymore. My pulse beat loud in my ears, and I wondered if he could hear it too. "You're thinking too much," he murmured, leaning closer, his breath warm against my skin. "Maybe," I whispered, eyes flicking up to his. "Or maybe I'm trying not to think." He chuckled low in his chest, that same sound that used to make me fall for him all over again. His hand rose slowly, brushing a strand of hair from my cheek, fingertips grazing my skin just long enough to make me shiver. We both froze, suspended in that charged silence. I could feel his restraint, the careful way he held himself back, and I matched it with my own, even though every inch of me wanted to close the space between us. His forehead rested gently against mine, and for a moment, we just breathed together, hearts beating in sync. "I missed this," he admitted quietly. "Me too," I breathed back. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. But the way his thumb traced lazy circles against the side of my neck, the way my hands finally gave in and clutched the fabric of his shirt, it felt like the universe pausing, waiting. And then, without warning, he tilted his head and pressed the faintest kiss just below my ear, soft, lingering, enough to send a tremor through me. We both exhaled, eyes locking again. Nothing more happened. And yet everything had changed. Something had awakened, slow, deliberate, and unstoppable. And this was only the beginning. The air between us felt heavier now, like the room itself was holding its breath. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it, yet neither of us moved. His forehead was still resting against mine, and that single kiss below my ear still burned on my skin, echoing through every inch of me. "This isn't fair," I whispered, though I wasn't even sure who I was trying to convince, him or myself. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his eyes searching mine. "What isn't?" "This," I breathed, gesturing weakly to the space between us, a space that barely existed anymore. "We said we'd slow down, talk more, figure things out before what?" His voice was low, teasing but serious beneath the surface. "Before we remember what we mean to each other?" I swallowed hard, my resolve thinning with every second I held his gaze. It wasn't just desire burning there, it was history. Promises. Years of shared laughter and late-night talks and every little thing that had built us into us. And yet, the ache that pulsed through me now wasn't just about love. It was something deeper, more dangerous, a pull that made it hard to think straight. My fingers brushed against his when I shifted, and we both froze. That tiny touch felt like an electric current. I should have stepped back. I knew I should have. But instead, my hand lingered, hovering just above his as if gravity itself was drawing us closer. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, though his hand inched closer too. "Just say it once, and I will." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't want to stop. That was the truth I was trying to hide even from myself. "You make it sound so easy," I whispered. His lips parted as if to reply, but instead, he simply exhaled, a deep, shaky breath that mirrored my own. Our eyes locked again, longer this time, the silence stretching until it felt like the whole world had narrowed down to just this moment. His hand finally closed over mine, fingers intertwining slowly, deliberately. My pulse jumped. My breath caught. And for a second, it felt like the ground beneath us shifted. The distance between us shrank to inches. One more breath, one more heartbeat, and there would be nothing left to stop us. And yet, we didn't move. We stayed right there, trembling on the edge of something that could change everything. Caught between what we should do and what we wanted to do, and neither of us sure which side we were going to fall on next. The silence between us grew louder with every second. It wasn't empty, it was charged, alive, humming with everything we weren't saying. His fingers were still tangled with mine, warm and steady, and though neither of us moved, the pull between us felt unstoppable. "Are we really doing this?" I whispered, my voice barely a breath. He smiled, a crooked, nervous smile that softened his eyes. "I don't know," he murmured back. "Do you want to?" I laughed, soft, shaky, betraying just how much I did. "That's not an answer." "It's the only honest one I have," he said, stepping just half a step closer. That was all it took. My back brushed against the wardrobe, and suddenly there was nowhere else to go. He wasn't touching me anywhere else, but the nearness was overwhelming, like every inch of air between us was on fire. I tried to steady my breathing, but it was useless. My chest rose and fell too quickly, and I saw his eyes follow the movement. He swallowed, jaw tightening as if he was fighting the same war I was. "Why does it feel like this is the first time?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anticipation. "Because we're finally paying attention," he whispered. Another inch closed. His breath ghosted over my lips now, warm, unsteady, tasting faintly of coffee and adrenaline. My heartbeat drummed in my ears, each thud louder than the last. I wanted to look away, to break the spell, but I couldn't. His gaze held me captive. A nervous laugh slipped from me again. "We should stop before what?" he asked gently, though his voice had deepened. "Before we cross a line we can't uncross. Before the world shifts beneath our feet. Before desire wins over reason." But none of those words left my lips. Instead, I reached up, slowly, carefully, and brushed a loose strand of hair from his forehead. My fingers lingered longer than they should have. His eyes fluttered shut for just a second, a quiet sigh escaping him, and when they opened again, something in them had changed. He leaned closer. My breath hitched. Our noses nearly touched. His hand slipped from mine and trailed up my arm, leaving goosebumps in its wake, until it rested just below my shoulder. Every part of me screamed for him to close the distance. And I could feel he wanted to, that he was right there, a breath away from doing it. And yet, he stopped. We hovered in that sliver of space, trembling, breathless, and seconds away from something neither of us could undo. We hovered there, breath mingling in the narrow space between us, one heartbeat away from surrender. And then, a sound shattered the moment. A soft ping from the nightstand. His phone. A name flashed across the screen, one that made my stomach tighten, Elena. We both froze. The warmth in his eyes faltered, replaced by a flicker of guilt he couldn't quite hide. I knew that name. She wasn't a stranger, just someone from work, someone he always said was just a colleague. And yet, seeing her name appear now, in this moment, made everything inside me clench. "Are you going to get that?" I asked, voice quieter than I intended. He glanced at the phone, then back at me. "No," he said simply, without moving an inch. "Right now, I don't care about anything else." But I cared. I wanted to believe him, wanted to stay lost in this charged moment, but a whisper of doubt had slipped in. And with it came a rush of memories, late nights apart, vague explanations, the way he avoided certain topics. I had chosen not to question it before. But now, standing here, with my breath tangled in his and temptation pressing harder than ever, the truth loomed like a shadow between us. "Tell me something," I murmured, searching his face. "Are we still us, or am I just trying to hold on to something that's already gone?" His expression softened. He stepped closer, gently cupping my face, his thumb brushing over my cheek. "You're not holding on," he whispered. "We're still here. I'm still here. And I've never wanted you more than I do right now." The words hit deeper than I expected. Part of me still questioned them, but another part, the part that remembered every late-night laugh, every quiet touch, wanted so desperately to believe. The tension thickened, heavier now with more than just desire. It was layered with fear, longing, and the knowledge that crossing this line might change everything. "Then prove it," I whispered, my voice trembling as much as my heart. His eyes darkened, breath catching as though my words had snapped something inside him. Slowly, he closed the remaining distance until his chest brushed against mine. My hands rose instinctively, fisting in the fabric of his shirt, holding him there as if letting go would undo everything. Our breaths tangled, uneven and hungry. His fingers slid from my cheek down to my collarbone, pausing as if to give me one last chance to pull away. I didn't. I couldn't. "Elena doesn't matter," he breathed, his forehead pressed against mine. "Only this does." And despite the doubt still whispering at the edges of my thoughts, the pull between us grew stronger, raw and magnetic. The world beyond that small room blurred. It didn't matter who texted or what truths might still be unspoken. All that mattered was the gravity dragging us closer, closer, closer. His lips hovered just above mine now, so near that every breath he exhaled trembled against my skin. And this time, neither of us stepped back. We were past the point of pretending. Past hesitation. Past reason. And in the quiet hush of our shared heartbeat, we finally stopped fighting what we both knew was inevitable. The space between us vanished. All the hesitation, the stolen glances, the whispered doubts, they collapsed under the weight of everything we had been holding back. His lips finally met mine, not with the wild urgency I expected, but with something deeper, a slow, deliberate kiss that felt like a question, an apology, and a promise all at once. I melted into it before I even realized I had moved. My hands slid up his chest, curling around the back of his neck as if they had been waiting for this moment forever. He pulled me closer, one hand tracing the curve of my waist, the other cradling my face like I was something fragile he didn't want to break. The kiss deepened, grew bolder. Months of distance and silence dissolved in the warmth of his mouth, the heat of his breath, the way our hearts seemed to fall back into the same rhythm they once shared. Every brush of his lips, every sigh against my skin felt like a confession. I missed you. I need you. I'm still here. When we finally broke apart, breathless and trembling, the room felt different. Lighter, somehow. Or maybe it was us. This isn't just about tonight, he whispered, his forehead pressed against mine. It's about us. About fixing what we almost let go. The words hit me harder than the kiss itself. Somewhere deep down, I had feared this was just heat, that once the moment passed, so would everything else. But looking into his eyes now, I saw something steadier, stronger. It wasn't just desire pulling us together anymore. It was love, scarred, imperfect, but still standing. I swallowed, blinking back tears I didn't expect. Then promise me something, I murmured. No more secrets. No more halfway. If we do this, we do it right. He nodded, his voice rough with emotion. I promise. All in. No holding back. The gravity between us shifted again, heavier but more certain. And when he kissed me this time, it wasn't just passion, it was surrender. Our bodies moved together in a rhythm older than words, guided by memory and rediscovered trust. Time blurred. The air was filled with soft breaths, quiet gasps, and the sound of two hearts remembering what it meant to beat in sync. The tension that had been simmering for so long finally broke, not with chaos, but with a wave of connection that left us both breathless. And just when I thought the moment couldn't get deeper, he pulled back slightly, his eyes locked on mine. This isn't the end, he whispered. This is the beginning. And I believed him. The world outside our room could have stopped spinning, and I wouldn't have noticed. All I knew was the rise and fall of our breathing, the warmth of his skin against mine, and the quiet hum of something deep and steady that had returned between us. We stayed like that for a while, tangled in silence, the kind that isn't awkward but sacred. My head rested against his chest, and I could feel the steady drum of his heartbeat beneath my cheek. It was slower now, calmer, but still strong. Just like us. Neither of us spoke at first. Words felt too small for everything that had just happened. All the doubts, the distance, the what-ifs, they had dissolved in that one moment of surrender. What remained wasn't just desire. It was trust rebuilt, love rediscovered, and a quiet promise neither of us had to say out loud. I forgot how this felt, I whispered finally, tracing lazy circles on his skin. He tilted his head to look at me, his eyes soft, almost boyish. What? This, I said, gesturing between us. Not just the closeness. The us we used to be. His lips brushed my forehead, gentle and reassuring. Then let's never forget again. I smiled, the kind of smile that starts slow but spreads deeper than you expect. That means work, you know. Effort. Honesty. Then we'll do all of it, he said without hesitation. Because this, his hands slipped into mine, fingers weaving together, is worth everything. The weight of those words settled in my chest, warm and solid. This wasn't just a night to remember, it was a turning point. A quiet decision to choose each other again, day after day, no matter how messy or complicated life became. We lay there in the golden glow of the fading light, talking softly about everything and nothing, the kind of conversation that we hadn't shared in far too long. And every time his fingers brushed against mine, every time his lips ghosted over my skin in soft, lingering kisses, it reminded me that what we had wasn't fragile. It was strong. Real. Worth holding on to. When he kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, it wasn't about fire or urgency. It was about home. And in that moment, wrapped in his arms with the night closing in around us, I knew this wasn't just the end of a story. It was the beginning of another chapter, one we'd write together, one heartbeat at a time.